The great meeting hall of the Galactic Trade Federation buzzed with nervous voices. Hundreds of different alien species filled the curved seats that rose up like a bowl around the central speaking platform. Some creatures looked like tall plants with moving branches. Others had shells like giant turtles. A few looked almost like birds, but with 4 arms instead of wings. Juan sat in the human section, which was very small compared to the others. He wore his dark blue uniform with the Earth symbol on his chest. As the human ambassador, he had seen many Federation meetings before, but never one like this. The emergency alarm had woken him 3 hours ago. 3 Federation colonies had gone dark in the same week. No radio signals, no trade ships returning. Nothing but silence from 3 entire star systems. "The Void Swarm has taken another system," announced Speaker Yillith, a tall creature with gray skin and large black eyes. "The Kalari colonies are gone. 2 billion souls lost." Worried sounds filled the hall. Some aliens made clicking noises with their mouths. Others changed colors on their skin. The plant-like beings drooped their branches low. Juan had heard about the Void Swarm before, but always as something far away. They were bugs, basically. Giant space bugs that ate everything in their path. Their ships were alive, grown instead of built. They moved from system to system like locusts, eating all the life they could find. "How many ships did they bring?" asked someone from the turtle-like species. "Our sensors show at least 5,000 bio-ships," Speaker Yillith replied. "Maybe more. They adapt to our weapons too quickly. Our energy shields mean nothing to them now." Juan frowned. 5,000 ships sounded like a lot, but he had seen human fleet reports. The Earth Defense Fleet had 12,000 active warships, and that was just for protecting one world. A creature that looked like a walking flower stood up. "What about the Defense Fleet? Surely our combined forces can stop them." Speaker Yillith's skin grew darker. "The 7th Defense Fleet engaged the swarm at Kalari Prime. We lost 400 ships. They lost maybe 20. The hall fell quiet. Even the constant humming and buzzing sounds stopped. "We need help," Speaker Yillith continued. "The swarm moves toward our core worlds. They will reach the Centauri trade hub in 6 months. After that, they will have clear space to our home systems." An old alien with blue fur and wise eyes stood up. "What kind of help? We have already called every member species. This is everyone we have." "Not everyone," Speaker Yillith said, looking directly at Juan. "The humans have not yet joined this fight." All eyes turned to Juan. Hundreds of different creatures stared at him. Some looked hopeful. Others looked worried. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy, and it was not for being peaceful. Juan stood up slowly. "What exactly are you asking for?" "Supply ships," Speaker Yillith said quickly. "Medical aid. Maybe some advisors who understand military strategy. We know humans have experience with conflict." Juan almost laughed, but stopped himself. Experience with conflict. That was like saying water was wet. "I need to contact Earth," Juan said. "This decision is above my level." "How long will that take?" asked a nervous-looking bird creature. "A few hours for the message to reach Earth. Maybe a day for them to decide." "We don't have much time," Speaker Yillith said. "Every day we wait, the swarm gets closer." Juan nodded and left the hall. As he walked to his communication room, he could hear the worried voices growing louder behind him. These beings had never faced real war before. The Federation had been peaceful for over 1,000 years. Their biggest conflicts were trade disputes and border disagreements. The Void Swarm was something else entirely. They didn't want territory or resources. They just wanted to eat everything alive. In his private room, Juan activated the quantum communicator. The machine hummed and displayed a connection to Earth Defense Command. Admiral Deho's face appeared on the screen. He was an older man with gray hair and scars on his face from the Titan Wars. "Admiral," Juan said, "we have a situation." "I've been monitoring Federation channels," Deho replied. "The bug problem?" "The Void Swarm, yes, sir. They've taken 3 systems this week. The Federation is asking for human aid." Deho leaned back in his chair. "What kind of aid?" "Supply ships, medical support, military advisors." There was a long pause. Then Deho started laughing. It wasn't a happy laugh. "Supply ships," Deho repeated. "Juan, you know we don't have supply ships, right? We have warships, big ones." I tried to explain that, sir, but they don't seem to understand. Of course they don't. These species haven't fought a real war in centuries. They think conflict means angry letters and trade sanctions. Deho stood up and walked to a window. How bad is this swarm threat? Bad, sir. They adapt to energy weapons. Standard Federation defense can't stop them. 5,000 bioships in the last attack. 5,000, Deho said quietly. That's a decent-sized fleet. What should I tell them, sir? Deho was quiet for a long time. Juan could see him thinking, probably looking at star charts and fleet positions. Tell them we'll help, Deho finally said. What kind of help, sir? The only kind we know how to give. I'm mobilizing the entire defense fleet. Every ship, every marine, every weapon we have. Juan felt his stomach drop. Sir, they asked for advisors and supply ships. And they're going to get the human fleet. All of it. Deho looked directly at the camera. Juan, these Federation species are like children. They've never seen real war. When the swarm hits their core worlds, they'll break completely. But, sir, if we bring the entire fleet, if we don't, everyone in this part of the galaxy dies, Deho interrupted. The swarm doesn't negotiate. They don't take prisoners. They eat everything and move on. That's not a police action, Juan. That's an extinction event. Juan thought about the worried faces in the Federation Hall. These beings had families, children, entire civilizations that had never known war. How long until the fleet arrives? Juan asked. 2 weeks for the first battle groups, a month for the full fleet. Deho paused. Juan, you need to prepare them. Prepare them for what, sir? For what human aid actually looks like. The connection ended, leaving Juan alone with his thoughts. He looked out his window at the Federation station. Thousands of different species lived and worked here in peace. They traded goods, shared knowledge, and settled disputes with words instead of weapons. In 2 weeks, they were going to learn what Deathworlders called help. Juan activated his communicator again, this time connecting to the Federation Council. Speaker Yillith, he said when the connection opened. I have Earth's response to your request. Wonderful. When will the supply ships arrive? There are no supply ships, Juan said carefully, but Earth is sending aid. What kind of aid? Juan took a deep breath. Military aid, the kind humans are good at. There was silence on the other end of the line. How many advisor ships? Speaker Yillith finally asked. All of them, Juan replied. All of what? All of our ships, Speaker Yillith. The entire Earth defense fleet is coming to help you fight the Void Swarm. The silence stretched longer this time. When Speaker Yillith spoke again, his voice was very quiet. How many ships is that, Ambassador Juan? 12,000 active warships, plus support vessels and marine transports. The connection went dead. Juan sat back in his chair and rubbed his face. In 2 weeks, the most peaceful part of the galaxy was going to meet the most warlike species in known space. He just hoped there would be something left to save when it was over. Outside his window, the Federation station continued its quiet, peaceful existence. For now. 2 weeks later, the Federation's deep space sensors started screaming. Captain Minji stood on the bridge of the UES Soul's Fury, watching the Federation station grow larger on the main screen. Around her ship, 11,999 other human warships moved through space in perfect formation. Contact from the Federation station, reported Communications Officer Yuna. They want to talk to whoever is in command. Put them through, Minji said. The screen changed to show Ambassador Juan's face. He looked tired and stressed. Captain Minji, thank you for coming, Juan said. But there seems to be some confusion. What kind of confusion? The Federation Council is concerned about the size of your fleet. Minji looked around her bridge. Her weapons officer Sora was running checks on the railgun batteries. Engineer Nari was monitoring the fusion reactors. Everything looked normal to her. This is a normal response fleet, Minji said. Admiral Deho sent what was needed. Captain, the Federation was expecting maybe a dozen advisor ships. You brought 12,000 warships. We don't have advisor ships, Minji explained patiently. We have warships. This is what human aid looks like. On the screen, Juan rubbed his face with both hands. Captain, you need to understand. These Species have never seen a military fleet this size. They're scared. They should be scared, Weapons Officer Sora said from her station. Just not of us. Minji held up a hand to quiet Sora. Ambassador, where do you want us to position the fleet? The Federation Council wants to meet with your commanders first. They want to understand your capabilities. Fine. Send over coordinates for a meeting. The screen went dark. Around the Soul's Fury, the massive human fleet continued moving toward the Federation station. Each ship was over a kilometer long, covered in thick armor plating and bristling. With weapons. No energy shields, no fancy technology, just heavy armor and lots of guns. Captain, Navigation Officer Taman called out. I'm picking up Federation ships on approach. Looks like they're welcome committee. Put it on screen. The main display showed a formation of Federation vessels moving toward them. They were beautiful ships, all smooth curves and glowing energy fields. Their hulls were white and silver, designed more for show than fighting. Those are their warships? Sora asked, sounding confused. Must be, Minji replied. They look more like art projects than fighting ships. The Federation ships took position around the human fleet. They were so small compared to the human dreadnoughts that they looked like children's toys. Incoming transmission, Yuna reported. It's from the Federation flagship. Put it through. A new face appeared on screen. This was Kyung, a Federation liaison officer. He was one of the few species that looked almost human, except for his blue skin and large eyes. Welcome to Federation space, Kyung said nervously. I am here to escort you to the station. Thank you, Minji replied. We'll follow your lead. As the combined fleet moved toward the station, Kyung kept staring at the human ships on his screen. Captain, Minji, he finally said, may I ask about your ship design? We have never seen vessels like these before. What do you want to know? Your ships appear to have no energy shields. Is this correct? That's correct, Minji confirmed. We use armor instead. But armor is so primitive. How do you defend against energy weapons? Sora laughed from her weapon station. We don't defend against them. We destroy the ships firing them. Kyung looked even more nervous. And those structures on your hull? They look like weapon mounts. They are weapon mounts, Minji said. Rail, guns, missile batteries, particle beams, and kinetic bombardment systems. How many weapons does your ship carry? Minji looked at Sora, who checked her displays. 843 primary weapons, Sora reported, plus another 2,000-point defense systems. The silence on the communication channel stretched for a long time. Did you say 800 weapons? Kyung asked weakly. 843, Sora corrected, plus the 2,000 smaller ones. On one ship? This is a light battleship, Minji explained. The dreadnoughts carry more. Kyung's face went very pale, even for his blue skin. When they reached the Federation station, Minji took a shuttle over for the meeting. The station was huge, designed to hold representatives from hundreds of different species. Everything was clean and bright, with soft colors and peaceful decorations. The meeting room was full of alien diplomats and military commanders. They all stared at Minji as she entered. She wore her standard military uniform, which looked very plain compared to the fancy clothes the Federation officers wore. Speaker Yilith stood at the front of the room. Captain Minji, thank you for coming. We wanted to discuss how your fleet can help us with the Void Swarm threat. Simple, Minji said. We find them, and we destroy them. The room fell quiet. When you say destroy, Speaker Yilith said carefully, you mean defeat them in battle? No, I mean destroy them completely. Every ship, every base, every trace of them we can find. A plant-like creature in the front row started shaking. But that would be genocide. Yes, Minji agreed. That's the point. The shocked silence lasted, even longer this time. Colonel Junho, who had come with Minji, stepped forward. The Void Swarm doesn't negotiate. They don't surrender. They eat everything they find and then move on to the next target. You can't reason with them or make peace with them. But surely there must be another way, said an alien that looked like a giant butterfly. Violence should be the last option. It is the last option, Minji said. It's also the first option, the middle option, and the only option that works. Speaker Yillith looked uncomfortable. Captain, we appreciate your willingness to help, but we were hoping for something less extreme. Like what? Defense. Protection for our colonies while we try to find a peaceful solution. Sora, who was monitoring communications from the ship, spoke into Minji's earpiece. Captain, you should show them what human defense looks like. Minji nodded. Would you like a demonstration of our defensive capabilities? That would be helpful, Speaker Yillith said. Minji activated her communicator. Soul's Fury, this is the captain. Target that asteroid cluster at coordinates 447221338. Fire one shot from the main battery. One shot confirmed, came Sora's voice over the speaker. Through the station's windows, they could see the human fleet in the distance. The Soul's Fury, barely visible as a dark shape, turned slightly. A line of light streaked across space, too fast to follow with the eye. In the distance, a large asteroid that had been floating peacefully for millions of years simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next it was expanding cloud of glowing dust. That asteroid was 12 kilometers wide, Minji said, calmly. Made of solid rock and metal, one shot from one gun on one of our smallest battleships. The Federation officers stared out the window at the expanding cloud of dust. Now imagine what happens when all 12,000 ships fire at the same target, Minji continued. A turtle-like alien in the back row made a sound like air escaping from a balloon. This is how humans defend things, Colonel Junho added. We make sure that anything threatening what we protect stops existing. But the moral implications, started the butterfly creature. The moral implications are simple, Minji interrupted. The Void Swarm wants to eat everyone in this part of the galaxy. We're going to stop them, permanently. Speaker Yillith sat down, heavily. We thought you would send advisors, maybe some supply ships. We sent what works, Minji said. Human military doctrine is very simple. When something threatens humanity or our allies, we destroy it completely. No half measures, no warning shots, no mercy. What if we're wrong? Asked a worried voice from somewhere in the crowd. What if there's another solution? Then a species that eats entire star systems will be dead, and everyone else gets to keep living, Minji replied. I can live with that mistake. Colonel Junho activated his own communicator. Fleet Command, this is Colonel Junho. Begin combat preparation drills. Full battle readiness in 48 hours. Combat drills? Speaker Yillith asked. Training exercises, Junho explained. We need to make sure everyone knows their job when we meet the swarm. Through the windows, they could see the human fleet beginning to move. Ships broke formation and started complex maneuvers. Weapon systems extended from hull mountings. The peaceful formation became a military exercise. They're beautiful, whispered one of the Federation officers. They're terrifying, corrected another. They're ours, Minji said firmly. And they're here to help, human style. As the meeting ended and the Federation officers filed out, many of them kept looking back at the human fleet through the windows. Some looked hopeful for the first time in weeks. Others looked more scared than they had been of the Void Swarm. Ambassador Huan stayed behind as the room emptied. Captain, he said quietly, you're scaring them more than the enemy. Good, Minji replied. Fear keeps people alive, and when the swarm sees what we brought, maybe they'll be scared too. What if they're not? Minji looked out at her fleet, 12,000 ships ready for war. Then they'll learn. The alarm that woke Admiral Deho was different from the others. This one meant enemy contact. He rolled out of his bunk on the flagship UES Iron Mountain and checked the tactical display. Red dots filled the screen, moving toward the Federation's capital system at high speed. Report, he said into his communicator. Admiral, this is Captain Yuna on the Soul's Fury, came the response. Long-range sensors are picking up massive movement from the Void Swarm. Looks like their main fleet. Deho pulled on his uniform and headed for the command center. The Iron Mountain was the largest ship humanity had ever built, over 2 kilometers long and armed with enough firepower to crack a planet. Right now, it was the flagship of the largest human fleet ever assembled. In the command center, holographic displays showed the tactical situation. The Void Swarm was coming in a huge mass, thousands of bioships moving together like a school of deadly fish. How many? Deho asked. 15,000 confirmed, reported tactical analyst Jisoo. Probably more behind them. What about the Federation? Fleet? 800 ships, positioned around the capital world. They're using standard defensive formation. Deho studied the display. The Federation ships were arranged in a perfect sphere around their home planet, energy shields overlapping to create a protective barrier. It looked impressive, but Deho had seen this kind of defense before. They're going to get slaughtered, he said quietly. Communications Officer Yuna opened a channel to the Soul's Fury. Captain Minji, this is Admiral Deho. Move your battle group to intercept position. We're going to show the Federation what real defense looks like. Understood. Admiral, what about the Federation fleet? Leave them where they are. They'll learn better by watching. The human fleet began to move. Instead of forming a defensive sphere like the Federation ships, they spread out in a long line between the incoming swarm and the capital world. Each ship was positioned to have clear firing lanes without hitting friendly vessels. On the bridge of the destroyer, Busan Lightning, Captain Hyunwoo checked his weapons systems one more time. His ship was smaller than the battleships, but it carried enough firepower to level a city. Contact in 30 minutes, reported his tactical officer. Signal from the flagship, added his communications officer. Admiral Deho wants all ships to hold fire until his command. Hyunwoo nodded. The waiting was always the worst part. On the Federation ships, panic was starting to set in. The Void Swarm bioships looked like nothing they had ever seen. They were organic, covered in armor that looked like insect shells. Some were huge, the size of small moons. Others were fast and sleek, built for ramming attacks. They're adapting. Already, reported a Federation scanner operator. Our sensors show they're changing their hull composition. They're getting ready to resist our energy weapons. Admiral Deho listened to the Federation communications with interest. These aliens still didn't understand what they were facing. Admiral, said tactical analyst Jisoo, the swarm is splitting into attack formations. Looks like they're planning to hit the Federation line first, then swing around to attack us. Let them, Deho replied. We'll see how they adapt to something they've never encountered before. The first contact came 20 minutes later. The Void Swarm's advanced ships hit the Federation defense line like a hammer. Energy beams lanced out from the Federation vessels, striking the bioships with enough power to melt steel. The bioships absorbed the energy and kept coming. Their hulls shifted and changed, adapting to each type of weapon that hit them. Within minutes, the Federation's most powerful energy weapons were useless. Federation flagship is calling for help, reported Yuna. They're requesting immediate support. Tell them to hold position, Deho ordered. We'll handle this. The Void Swarm swarmed over the Federation ships like insects on fruit. Bioships attached to the Federation vessels and began eating through their hulls. The beautiful white and silver ships started disappearing one by one. Admiral, said Captain Hyunwoo over the communications channel. Permission to engage? Not yet, Deho replied, watching the slaughter on his displays. Let them get closer. The swarm, having broken through the Federation line, turned toward the human fleet. 15,000 bioships moved in perfect coordination. Their living, hulls rippling as they adapted to the expected energy weapon attacks. They were 1 kilometer away when Admiral Deho gave the order. All ships, open fire. The human fleet spoke as one voice. 12,000 warships fired their main batteries, simultaneously. But instead of energy beams, streams of solid metal projectiles flew through space at incredible speed. Railgun rounds, explosive missiles, and kinetic penetrators filled the void between the two fleets. The effect on the Void Swarm was immediate and devastating. The bioships had adapted to absorb energy, but they had no defense against chunks of metal traveling at significant fractions of light speed. Railgun rounds punched through their adaptive armor like it was paper. Missiles exploded inside their hulls, tearing them apart from within. In 30 seconds, 3,000 Void Swarm ships ceased to exist. Reload and fire again, Deho ordered calmly. The second salvo took out another 2,000 bioships. The swarm formation, which had been perfect and coordinated, began to fall apart as ships tried to adapt to the kinetic weapons. They're trying to harden their hulls against physical impact, reported Jisoo. It's working, but it's making them slower and less maneuverable. Good, Deho said. Switch to high explosive rounds. Target the bigger ships first. The third salvo was different. Instead of solid metal penetrators, the human ships fired explosive shells designed to fragment inside their targets. The larger, bio ships, having hardened themselves against kinetic impact, couldn't adapt fast enough to the explosive charges detonating inside their hulls. Captain Hyunwoo watched through his ship's cameras as a bio ship the size of a small city broke apart, under concentrated fire from his destroyer squadron. Pieces of living metal and organic matter scattered across space. "This is easier than the Titan Wars," said his weapons officer. "The Titans shot back," Hyunwoo replied. "These things don't know how to fight kinetic weapons." On the Federation, ships that had survived the first attack, crews watched in amazement as the human fleet systematically destroyed the Void Swarm. The bio ships that had seemed invincible minutes ago were being blown apart by weapons the Federation considered primitive. "How are they doing that?" asked a Federation captain over the emergency channel. Medical Officer Yunha, who was monitoring Federation communications from her station, explained patiently. "Energy weapons transfer energy which can be absorbed or redirected. Kinetic weapons transfer momentum. You can't adapt to physics." The battle lasted 2 more hours, but the outcome was never in doubt after the first salvo. The Void Swarm ships tried everything they could think of. They attempted ramming attacks, which failed when human point defense systems shredded them before they could make contact. They tried swarming tactics, which only gave the human gunners more targets. They even tried retreating, but human missiles were faster than bio ships. When it was over, 15,000 Void Swarm ships had been reduced to floating debris. The human fleet had lost exactly 0 vessels, though a few had minor damage from bio ship fragments. "Clean up sweep," Admiral Deho ordered. "Make sure nothing is left alive. Then we're going to have a talk with the Federation about how this war is really going to work." Captain Minji stood on her bridge, looking at the tactical display. The way. Space around the Federation capital world was filled with the wreckage of bioships. "Captain," said Weapons Officer Sora, "we're getting readings on some of the larger pieces. They might still be alive." "Sterilization protocol," Minji ordered. "Burn everything." The human ships began the methodical process of destroying every piece of wreckage large enough to contain living tissue. Nothing would be allowed to escape and adapt to their weapons. On the Federation flagship, Speaker Yillith watched the human cleanup operation with a mixture of awe and horror. "They're destroying everything," he said to his aide, "even the pieces that are clearly dead." "Human military doctrine," his aide replied, reading from a datapad. "Complete destruction of enemy forces. No survivors, no exceptions. But some of those bioships might have valuable information, scientific data we could use. I don't think the humans care about that." Speaker Yillith activated his communicator and called Admiral Deho. "Admiral, thank you for your assistance," he began. "That was impressive." "It was adequate," Deho replied. "But this was just their advance fleet. The main swarm is still out there." "Main swarm? That wasn't the main attack. That was a scouting force, maybe 15,000 ships. Our intelligence says the full swarm has over 100,000 bioships." The silence on the Federation channel lasted for a full minute. 100,000, Speaker Yillith finally said. "Maybe more. They breed fast." Deho's voice was calm and professional. "Which brings us to our next problem. You can't defend against that many ships. What do you suggest?" "We stop playing defense. Tomorrow we start hunting them, finding their breeding grounds, their homeworlds, their resource bases. Then we destroy all of it." "But that would mean leaving Federation space, attacking their territory." "Yes," Deho agreed. "That's how you win wars. You take the fight to the enemy." Intelligence Officer Seungmin stared at the data flowing across his screens. After 3 days of analyzing captured Void Swarm bioship remains, he had finally cracked their navigation systems. "Admiral Deho," he called across the intelligence center aboard the Iron Mountain. "I found them." Deho walked over to Seungmin's station. "Show me." The main display lit up with a 3-dimensional star map. Red dots marked 17 different star systems in a cluster about 50 light-years from Federation space. "These are their core systems," Seungmin explained. The bioships we destroyed had traces of organic material from all 17 worlds. Based on the genetic markers, I'd say these systems have been swarm territory for at least 300 years. Population estimates? Hard to say exactly, but based on the ship construction patterns, I'm seeing indicators for maybe 200,000 active bioships, plus breeding facilities, resource extraction operations, and what looks like some kind of central hive. Mind coordination system. Deho studied the map carefully. How long to get there? 2 weeks at maximum jump speed. But Admiral, there's something else you need to see. Sungmin changed the display to show long-range sensor data. These 3 systems here are showing massive energy signatures. They're building something big. Really big. How big? Planet-sized, sir. Maybe bigger. Deho was quiet for a long moment. Planet killers? That would be my guess. If the swarm can't adapt to our kinetic weapons, they might be planning to just destroy entire worlds before we can defend them. How long before they're operational? 6 months, maybe 8 if we're lucky. Deho activated his communicator. All senior staff to the main briefing room. Priority 1. An hour later, the briefing room was filled with human military commanders and Federation representatives. Admiral Deho stood at the front, with the swarm territory map displayed behind him. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted alien species, he began. Intelligence has located the Void Swarm home systems, 17 worlds, approximately 200,000 enemy ships, and 3 planet-killing weapons under construction. The Federation representatives shifted nervously in their seats. Speaker Yilith raised one of his hands. Admiral, when you say planet-killing weapons, I mean weapons designed to destroy entire planets, Deho interrupted. Crack them open, boil away their atmospheres, make them completely uninhabitable. A Federation diplomat who looked like a tall bird made a distressed, chirping sound. But that's monstrous. Yes, it is, agreed Commander Ju Hyun from her seat near the front, which is why we're going to destroy them before they're completed. You're talking about launching an attack on enemy territory, Speaker Yilith said. The Federation has never faced extinction before, Deho cut him off. You have 2 choices. You can help us destroy the swarm now while we have the advantage, or you can wait 6 months and watch them destroy every Federation world one by one. The room fell silent. Diplomat Arin, one of the few Federation representatives who had military experience, stood up. What exactly are you proposing? She asked. Special Forces operative Donghae activated his personal display unit. Deep strike operations. Hit their breeding worlds first to stop new ship production, then systematic destruction of their resource, extraction operations. Finally, orbital bombardment of their core worlds. Orbital bombardment? Speaker Yilith's voice was barely a whisper. Complete sterilization, Donghae confirmed. Every swarm world burned down to bedrock. No survivors, no chance for them to rebuild. A plant-like Federation representative began shaking violently. You're talking about genocide, the destruction of an entire species. Yes, Deho said simply. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But the moral implications... The moral implications are simple, Commander Ju Hyun interrupted, standing up from her seat. Either they all die, or we all die. There is no middle ground with the Void Swarm. She activated her own display, showing footage from the recent battle. Look at this, she continued. These bioships don't have crews. They don't have families or children or art or culture. They're weapons that eat everything in their path. You can't negotiate with them, you can't reform them, you can't coexist with them. They exist only to consume. The footage showed Void. Swarm ships devouring the remains of Federation vessels, literally eating the metal and organic matter to fuel their own growth. This is what the swarm does to every world they find, Ju Hyun continued. They eat everything alive, strip mine all the resources, and then move on to the next target. How is allowing that to continue more moral than stopping it permanently? Speaker. Yilith looked around the room at his fellow Federation representatives. Some looked convinced, others looked horrified, and a few looked like they were about to be sick. If we agree to this, he said slowly, the Federation becomes complicit in the destruction of an entire species. If you don't agree to this, Deho replied, the Federation becomes extinct. War crimes investigator Sunho, who had been quietly taking notes, looked up from his datapad. For the record, he said, I will be documenting everything that happens during this campaign. Every action, every decision, every consequence. The galaxy will know exactly what was done here and why. Good, Deho said. I want complete records. If we're going to commit genocide to save the galaxy, then the galaxy should know what that cost. Admiral, Speaker Yelith said, we need time to discuss this with our respective governments. How much time? At least a week, maybe more. This is the biggest decision the Federation has ever faced. Deho shook his head. You have 24 hours. 24 hours? That's not enough time. It's the time you have, Deho interrupted. Every day we wait, the swarm gets stronger. Those planet killers get closer to completion. More Federation worlds become targets. He gestured to the star map. In 24 hours, the human fleet moves out. You can come with us as allies. Or you can stay here and hope your energy shields work better next time. After the Federation representatives left, the human commanders remained in the briefing room. Think they'll come? Asked Captain Hyunwoo. Some will, Deho replied. The smart ones. The others will learn when the next swarm fleet shows up. Commander Ju-hyun pulled up detailed plans of the swarm systems. What's our target priority? Breeding. Worlds first, Deho decided. Cut off their reinforcements, then resource extraction. Finally, the core worlds and those planet killers. Rules of engagement? Asked Donghae. Total war. No prisoners, no survivors, no exceptions. Deho looked around the room at his officers. I know this isn't easy. We're not just fighting a war, we're committing genocide. But the alternative is the extinction of every intelligent species in this part of the galaxy. Intelligence Officer Seung-min brought up tactical projections. Based on our analysis, we should be able to take out their breeding operations in the first week. The resource worlds will take longer, maybe a month of sustained bombardment. And the core worlds? Those will be the hardest. Heavy defenses, massive populations of bioships, and those planet killers. Seung-min paused. We're going to lose ships, Admiral. Maybe a lot of them. How many? Conservative estimate? 2,000 ships. If we get unlucky, maybe 4,000. Deho nodded grimly. Acceptable losses to prevent galactic extinction. 22 hours later, Speaker Yelith arrived at the Iron Mountain with 6 other Federation representatives. We've made our decision, he announced to Admiral Deho. And the Federation Council is split. About half of our member species have agreed to support the operation. The others, Speaker. Yelith paused. The others have decided to remain neutral. Neutral, Deho repeated. They can't bring themselves to participate in what you're planning, but they won't interfere either. How many ships? 400 Federation vessels will join your fleet, plus logistical support and medical facilities. Deho considered this. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. Admiral, Speaker Yelith said quietly, are you sure this is the only way? I'm sure that every day we delay, more innocent beings die. I'm sure that the swarm won't stop until they've eaten everything. And I'm sure that if we don't stop them now, we'll never get another chance. He activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Deho. We have our orders and our allies. Tomorrow we begin Operation Final Solution. Our objective is the complete elimination of the Void Swarm threat, no matter what it costs. Throughout the combined fleet, human and Federation crews prepared for the largest military operation in galactic history. In the weapon bays, crews loaded kinetic rounds and high explosive shells. In the intelligence centers, analysts studied target priorities and defensive positions. And in the medical bays, doctors prepared for casualties on a scale none of them had ever seen. The peaceful galaxy was about to learn what Deathworlders called war. 6 months later, Fleet Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of the Iron Mountain, looking at a tactical display that showed 17 dead star systems. Where the Void Swarm had once built their empire, nothing remained but cooling rock and expanding. Clouds of debris. Final report from the sterilization teams, reported war crimes investigator Sunho. All swarm worlds confirmed dead. No life signs detected on any planet. No bioship activity in any system. Casualties? Minho asked. Final human losses. 2,800 ships, 43,000 personnel. Federation losses. 112 ships, 8,000 personnel. Minho nodded grimly. They had expected worse. but every loss still hurt. What about survivors? None, sir. Complete extinction of the void swarm species. The bridge was quiet for a moment. They had done what they came to do, but victory over an extinct species didn't feel like celebration. Incoming transmission from Earth, reported the communications officer. It's President Park. Put it through. The main screen showed the face of Earth's leader, a woman who had guided humanity through 3 interstellar wars. Admiral Minho, congratulations on completing the operation, she said. What's the status of Federation space? Secure, Madam President. The swarm threat is eliminated. Completely. And our allies? Mixed reactions, ma'am. Some are grateful. Others are disturbed by what we had to do. President Park was quiet for a moment. Admiral, what's your assessment of the Federation's ability to defend itself in the future? Honestly? Without human support, they'd be helpless against any serious threat. Their military philosophy is based on defense and deterrence, not actual fighting. I see. And what do you recommend? Permanent human presence in Federation space. Military bases, patrol fleets, joint training operations. These species need protection, and we're the only ones who can provide it. At what cost? Minho looked around his bridge at the officers who had spent 6 months burning worlds to ash. They'll have to accept that peace comes from strength, not hope. And they'll have to live with the fact that their protectors are capable of genocide when necessary. The transmission ended, leaving Minho to contemplate the future of this part of the galaxy. The Federation had asked for aid, and humans had given them the most thorough aid possible. Now they had to live with the consequences. Colony ship captain Jamin was already implementing the next phase of the plan. His vessel, the UES New Busan, led a fleet of colonization ships toward the sterilized swarm worlds. Beginning terraforming operations on former Swarm Prime, he reported to Fleet Command. Estimated timeline for human habitability, 18 months. The planets that had once bred billions of void swarm bioships would soon become human colonies. It was practical use of available space, but Jamin knew it was also a statement. Humans didn't just defeat their enemies, they took their territory. Cultural attaché Che-Yong worked with Federation species to help them process what they had witnessed. Her job was to explain why the complete destruction of the swarm had been necessary, and to help peaceful species understand what it meant to have humans as protectors. The nightmares will fade, she told a group of Federation survivors in one of her counseling sessions. But the memory needs to stay. You need to remember that peace isn't natural. Peace is something that has to be protected, and sometimes that protection requires terrible choices. A plant-like being who had lost family in the swarm attacks raised one of its branches. But how do we live with the knowledge of what was done in our name? The same way humans live with it, Che-Yong replied. Honestly, by remembering that the alternative was everyone dying. We made the hard choice so you didn't have to. On the Federation capital world, Speaker Yillith met with the Reformed Council of Species. Half the seats were empty. Those species that had refused to participate in the war had withdrawn from active Federation politics. The human fleet is requesting permission to establish permanent military bases in Federation space, Yillith announced. They want to station forces at 12 key strategic locations. Are we being occupied? Asked one of the remaining council members. We're being protected, Yillith replied. The humans have made it clear that they consider Federation space part of their sphere of influence now. They won't interfere with our government or trade, but they will handle all military threats. What choice do we have? None, Yillith said simply. We asked them for aid. They gave us the kind of aid that humans give, complete, permanent, and total. The vote was unanimous. The Federation formally requested human military protection in perpetuity. Admiral Deho, now promoted to System Defense Commander, established his headquarters on a space station orbiting the former Swarm Prime world. From there, he coordinated human military operations across 24 star systems. Status report, he requested from his aide. Human colonies are being established on 14 former Swarm worlds. Federation trade has resumed normal operations. No external threats detected in any monitored system. What about internal threats? Some Federation species are forming peace advocacy groups. They want the human military presence reduced. Nothing. Dangerous, just political protests. Deho nodded. Let them protest. They have the right to complain about their protectors. They just don't have the right to dismiss them. He looked out the window of his station at the planet below, where massive swarm breeding complexes had once covered the continents. Human terraforming equipment was preparing the world for agriculture and cities. Any word from the outer colonies about new threats? Nothing major, sir. A few pirate groups, some territorial disputes between minor species, all well within human military capability to handle. Good. Make sure our patrol schedules cover all Federation trade routes. These people asked for our aid once. I want to make sure they never have to ask again. War crimes investigator Sunho completed his final report 6 months after the last swarm world burned. His documentation filled over 10,000 pages and included detailed accounts of every battle, every bombardment, and every moral decision that had led to the extinction of an entire species. "Will this be made public?" asked his assistant. "All of it," Sunho confirmed. "Every Federation species, every human colony, every civilized world in this part of the galaxy will have access to the complete record. They need to know exactly what was done and why. Aren't you worried about the reaction? Some species will be horrified. Some will be grateful. Some will be both." Sunho sealed the data files and prepared to transmit them to archives across known space. "But they'll all know that when humans promise aid, we deliver it completely." The report's conclusion was simple. The Void Swarm represented an extinction-level threat to all intelligent life in the local galactic region. Standard defensive measures proved inadequate. The complete elimination of the swarm species, while morally complex, was the only action that guaranteed the survival of all other intelligent species. The human military response was thorough, efficient, and permanent. The cost, one extinct species, approximately 200 billion individual swarm organisms, 17 sterilized worlds. The result? Guaranteed safety for over 400 intelligent species across 2,000 inhabited worlds. By any measure of utilitarian ethics, the operation was a success. 5 years later, Ambassador Juan retired from his position and returned to Earth. In his final report to the Federation Council, he summarized what human aid had accomplished. The Federation requested supply ships and advisors to help with a military threat. Instead, humanity provided total military protection, permanent defensive infrastructure, and the complete elimination of all hostile forces in the region. This is how humans interpret requests for aid. We do not provide half measures or temporary solutions. When asked to help, we solve the problem completely and permanently. The Federation is now the safest region of space in the known galaxy. No hostile force would dare attack worlds under human protection. This safety comes with a price. The knowledge that your protectors are capable of total war when necessary. The Federation asked for human aid. We gave them human peace. And human peace, once established, lasts forever. In the decades that followed, Federation space became a model of stability and prosperity. Trade flourished under human military protection. Scientific advancement accelerated with human technological sharing. And the peaceful species that had once faced extinction grew to understand that their safety came from the simple fact that any threat to them would face complete destruction. The galaxy learned an important lesson. When you ask Deathworlders for aid, you don't get help. You get results, and those results are permanent.